gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Welcome back. Early Bird Special, Hour 2 here on this You Didn't Know Tuesday. We'll get to your text message answers here in a second. But our boy 24KG is in the building. We had Raw last night, live from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Mommy on top this morning.
Well, you know, she started off
A little bit of mommy on top. Hey, fellas, how you doing today? Hey? Sounding good, sounding great in here, all right?
Good morning.
Just saying, man.
You can never have too much brutality for Rhea Ripley in the mornings.
Never.
You
And at
know?
this point right now, we'll get into that one in a second because it really seems to me that they're trying to edge Io out of this match.
Well, we got
garbage.
WrestleMania in 12 days, guys, and the build-up to the Women's Triple Threat Championship match is underway, and I've got to say it's moving swiftly along without Io.
That's the wildest part about this is she has to kick her way into the conversation every week as they just mush her away.
I'm just tired
like
of seeing
she's a
her
little
getting
girl.
disrespected.
No,
You know?
that kick in the back of Rhea's head last night was pretty
pretty
fierce.
It actually caused a headbutt into Bianca, which was a great way to take him out. I don't know if that was planned, intentional, or whatnot, but they sold it beautifully.
Mhm.
Let's kind of move down this course because we've got to touch on some SmackDown things as well, gentlemen. So Raw kicked off with Adam Pearce addressing the women's triple threat situation, which we seen implode upon itself, giving us an official triple threat match for WrestleMania. What's your opinion on this, Chris?
When we called this about, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I mean,
very
you can go back
predictable
to our
booking, very safe.
You can go back to our YouTube channel and check out those videos. Me and Kimble and Sparky have been talking about this for weeks. We knew this was going to happen. This is just the easiest way to build up what is going to be probably the best women's match at WrestleMania.
Definitely. We'll talk about the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, Tiffany and Charlotte is falling flat on its face. Although, from what I understand, the internet is brewing about this. There might be some actual beef between the two women behind.
We will address that momentarily.
But yes, that's my opinion. I mean, I am excited about this one. I'm a massive mommy fan. I'm a massive fan of all three of these women. They're all fantastic at what they do and are easily the three best women on the women's division
Hardest
on the main
working.
roster.
Hardest working right now.
Well, yeah, I could say that as well. Charlotte obviously returning. We'll see that and what it could brew into in the next couple months. But Rhea, Io, and Bianca, there are no other women, in my opinion, on the main roster that deserve this more.
All right, we're pretty good on predictions. So, Sparky, who do you think's pulling out of this match?
I'm going to take Ripley.
All right.
Atta boy. Welcome to the train.
Not by choice. I just think
Welcome to
that's
the
how it's working
train.
on. I would much rather have
I
Io.
think you see it. I think you see this three-way feud brewing longer than just.
I think
WrestleMania.
this title bounces around between
the
these
three of
three
these.
for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I think so too.
We might even see this reculminate at SummerSlam, guys. So just,
We'll see.
be
it.
aware
Be
for that.
Which
stretched
also
out.
is this the year that SummerSlam and all that become 2 nights now?
Yes.
So they will
I
be
believe
mimicking
so.
the format of WrestleMania. As we said last week, there are, I'd say, 3-4 main pay-per-views for the WWE a year, which are WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and oh Lord, I'm drawing a blank on the last one.
They usually change it. It's after WrestleMania. What was it? Day one a couple years ago.
Something like that.
Or
I
it's
know
a
Money in the
Backlash,
Bank is one of them.
something like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, again, but basically they're moving all of these to 2 nights instead of 1 to maximize on profit.
So get your wallets ready, folks.
Right? I know the back Money in the Bank. Is that,
That is
believe,
back. That's headed to LA.
it's the weekend right after SmackDown
I believe
here,
so.
I believe.
Yeah.
So they're going to be
Which
a
is
nice
also
setup.
another plug. SmackDown headed right here to Dignity Health Arena.
Most definitely. I
June
believe that's
6th.
June 6th.
June 6th, folks.
Be there. It will be a massive build up.
Right when I get my tax return, of course.
Of course. But I'm
Perfect
just saying,
timing.
Right?
Perfect
all the
timing.
merch.
Well
and
done,
you might
Triple
see
H.
you might see an early bird special sign or 2 out there in the crowd
Hopefully.
too. Look out for it.
Let's
But-
generate a few.
And at this point, it is just building up to what is going to be another profitable year for the WWE.
One of their most profitable, seeing as how they've broken every financial gate record that they've had previously in the last 5 years, 10 years.
However,
I'm not saying this is due to inflation.
no,
It's
but
just because the product is hot.
Yeah.
The
I
product
don't know
is
about-
steaming hot.
I think you have to take into account too, though,
Just a
that-
little bit of inflation.
And we
Just-
talked about
just a
this
little
last
bit.
week. Sparky was on the therapy couch all Thursday talking about how expensive these tickets are getting, my
They
brother.
were.
It's getting to the point where you're either sacrificing your kids' college tuition or you're going to a live WWE event.
Exactly.
So moving on, we've got AJ Styles in a segment that kind of gives us some leeway and insight into what Karrion Kross's future with the company might be. I'm looking forward to next week's Raw with Kross and Styles, but also this package with Logan Paul versus AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I want to say instinctually Styles takes it, but the way they're positioning Logan Paul in this company, who is hated worldwide, it's a good look.
Check out Paul American on HBO Max right now, by the way.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
I could totally see the same thing. And I think Paul will pull it out, but it'll set up the Cross Styles.
I honestly do. I have to agree with you. I'm hoping we get Kross kind of sneaking his way into this match somehow at WrestleMania, because he has been a part of WrestleMania the last couple years and has had some very, very good matches. For those of you who don't know, Karrion Kross is a very coveted NXT champion from a couple years ago who has kind of faltered on finding his way on what his spot is on the main
who was
roster.
initially packaged perfectly.
He was, and really has kind of evolved into this devil of the wrestling world, kind of the devil on these wrestlers'
Is
shoulders.
it good? Is it bad? Do you want to do it? Do you? He's your
Well,
moral
he's so
conscience in a
subtle.
gray area.
And not to mention, he's so subtle with it. I mean,
He's good at
I
it.
don't know if you guys have noticed the internet thing, but he changes his hairstyle to mimic whatever wrestler he's wrestling at the time, and he does that on purpose.
Very much so.
He does that on purpose to kind of mimic the "I'm the devil on your shoulder" aspect.
And he's been booked in the background of a lot of storylines
Yes.
for quite a while. You can attribute the downfall of the bloodline to Karrion Kross's aforementioned
Not to
you
mention the heel
business.
change for Shinsuke Nakamura and Drew McIntyre,
big time.
and amongst others. And you're right. Like, usually he has a hand in a lot of these stories, but they haven't necessarily brought him in as essentially what I believe to be the Thanos of the WWE, because he's just so good at it.
He's inevitable. You're going to run into him backstage as a character, and if they're developing you and building you, you're going to have a segment.
And
with
this is a
Karrion
man.
Kross.
Go look at this guy's Instagram, because he literally can break a full wooden baseball bat,
Two of them.
with his bare hands.
Two of them.
He's done it. He took place in Bloodsport this year. He's a real guy, like MMA style fighter. He's a great guy off the screen too. But
Yeah, I
it is-
saw his
And
Instagram.
he interacts with his fans
He
via
does.
Instagram.
Yeah, I
he's
saw that.
very down to earth.
Adopting cats, and he's
Yes.
in a
So don't let the
rescue there.
character work on TV fool you guys.
no, he's a
actually decent human
fantastic
being.
individual, and honestly, that's why I want to see him in some sort of facet at WrestleMania. He deserves one.
All right, moving on. We've got our 6-man tag match with the LWO versus American Made and special guest El Grande Americano,
What is
aka Chad.
What is your
Gable.
take on this, dude? Because this is fantastic story
we
building.
are seeing the second coming of Kurt Angle right now, and in all honesty, is great because we used
Kurt
to see
never really did the luchador thing.
just the wig gimmick. He took on
true.
these comedy personas that really would be the antithesis to somebody who's such a machine, who's so
Yes.
intense, who's so well-rounded of a performer and athlete that. Let's just hark back to the Shorty G era.
Mhm.
Terrible creative. But for some reason, when we stick him with this goofball gimmick right now
Mhm.
of him denying that he's El Grande Americano, I buy into it because how they've developed it, his frustrations with the luchadors, his problems with Rey Mysterio, Hall of Famer who's still active and very much so a legend in his right. I'm not going to say his own right, in the whole right of
No,
being
he
that.
is. He's a Hall of Famer
He's been
already.
wrestling practically as long as we've been alive. So
The only wrestler I believe to be in the Hall of Fame and still be wrestling
God bless his knees.
full time.
God
full
bless
time.
his knees.
Well, I mean, the guy also does. Doesn't he do? He does stem cells, right? For
Yes,
the recovery process.
Stem cell recovery process, the same that Kobe Bryant took on. A lot of NFL players.
Because this
as they
man's
get
in
older.
his 50s. mind
Yes,
you, and he's
yes.
still a top-notch luchador.
And with that
That's
side
incredible.
character, it allows him to be the anti,
right?
because you
Yes.
know what he pulled last night with the
With the steel plate
metal
in
in
his
his
mask.
mask. Yeah.
Now, logically speaking, folks, we have to suspend
Which
all reality and
realistically
and
was
what
a
we're watching
shoehorn,
here. Now, if you put something that's metal up to your face and have contact with another person, it's gonna hurt. So please don't try any of that at home for our younger listeners and viewers on the YouTube.
Trust me, I've learned. My brother gave me a pedigree in my hallway when we were growing up, and I didn't know there was cement under the carpet, and I was out like a light.
I could imagine what your Thanksgivings were like.
Dude,
and
like my family never did the wrestling moves.
Well, I got him back. He was playing video game one day. I pulled up on the camel clutch while he was playing.
Yeah,
and so I got him back. We did that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we were a sharpshooter family. we were a sharpshooter family around my house.
Choke slams over here.
All right, then moving on to this video package, we have, speaking of Hall of Fame inductions, Paul Levesque, Triple H, officially going into the WWE Hall of Fame. And speaking of which, the night after WrestleMania, you have Tony Heathcliff giving a roast of WrestleMania and the weekend's
And is that on TV?
No, that is not on
That
television.
is something that I think we should not be denied, and we need to speak to the powers that be to get that.
If you don't think someone's going to leak that on YouTube, you're nuts.
I think they're going to film it for his YouTube, especially.
Well, it could now, because Kill Tony is now on Netflix starting yesterday.
He made an appearance last night.
So he did.
With the Machine.
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
That was quite a stomach. I thought Otis had a stomach, but Lord.
That entire interaction between Bert Kreischer and Otis was something.
In another universe, Bert Kreischer is somewhere holding up a real championship at this age, and he's like, "Oh, the 30,000 matches, I can't even remember." But however it's going for him, I'm glad to see him doing well. I enjoy his movies. I enjoy the comedy that they're just the celebrity aspect of interaction that they're bringing into WWE now with the Netflix affiliation is refreshing to see.
And they're trying their hardest to stay relevant in what the internet is into.
I was just about
really
to say
like
that.
to see.
Yeah, it's a great conscious effort to say we're paying attention and we're listening.
Exactly.
Unlike the previous administration. So let's just go into that match real quick that came after this video package. It was a world championship match with the New Day. God, please. I mean, it's terrible for what they've done to Big E.
Again.
Versus the Viking Raiders / War Raiders. All right, we're gonna settle in on this name. Are they officially War Raiders now?
Yeah, I think with the setup you saw them in, there was no real angle to the Viking side of what they used to be. So I think they have officially
prologue this to
removed the Viking part of the Viking Raiders. I think it is the War Raiders now, which is more of your stepdads who like to beat the crap out of people at bars kind of feel to me.
The biker vibe.
I do miss the Viking aesthetic mixed in with the whole biker.
See, I don't
feel just slightly. They didn't need to come down with their Valkyrie or anything like that. But
like you said, we need to suspend some disbelief in watching wrestling, obviously. But Vikings, really, like really, it seems tacky. It's like if you sent out somebody in a ninja outfit. Like, are we really going to sit here and pretend like this is still a thing?
Let's not forget Tozawa, almost.
That's not what I mean.
We had a whole gang of ninjas.
I understand that. But
from all different backgrounds and ethnicities. So it's not to say it's ruled out that a ninja could appear on wrestling.
I understand that, but that's kind of my point is that are we really going to pretend like this is still a thing here, and it's not like a little racist,
a little
racist.
Well, we don't have the old administration's CEO looking over at it anymore, so we can honestly say that we kind of don't have to worry about that anymore.
Durag Vince was a menace, but we can get into
that. Durag Vince was a felon on television.
And they pulled out the DQ, so New Day pulled out the win.
We'll most likely get a WrestleMania match out of this as well. That'll
Do you think
be
this
announced
ends up on the pre-show or on night one?
No, I think it'll be night one.
They stacked some matches last night, so I'm not sure.
They did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the announcement of Rey Mysterio and Grande Americano as well, be a one-on-one. You have to get a tag match in here, though, because I'm noticing all of these matches are just singles or
the match we skipped over was the Bayley Lyra match that set up.
I still don't know
gauntlet.
what they're doing with these things, man. I said
these mid-card women's matches, mid-card titles, I should say, deserve a little bit more respect.
That was a long and hell of a match, though.
I think they took up a little bit more time than they should have.
Probably.
There were a couple botches in there that looked like smooth recoveries.
I see that a lot of them too.
Yeah.
I see that even when they're not fighting. But I see that a lot with Bayley recently, and I see it a lot with Lyra. I don't know if it's her size or the aerial.
Lyra has been trying to evolve her move set, which
Yeah.
is interesting. And you saw a lot of it last night with what was that, like a cradle or something that she did to Bailey?
She almost
Yeah.
grabbed her
busted her
legs and her
neck
arms.
last night too.
Yeah, the way she put her down was not safe.
Smart. And that is kind of my issue with her, is that she tries too hard to do these moves that she believes everybody is going to be into and really enjoy, which is great for the product. But it's kind of like what AEW has a problem with as well. All Elite Wrestling is when you do these crazy moves so often and they are so unsafe. One, it's a high chance of being botched or just looking ugly. And two, with the possibility of injuries, the rest of the roster is not going to want to work with you.
Well, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm known for giving those about this. I think Lyra's overrated.
I have to agree with you.
Yep.
Absolutely overrated.
I'm glad you said that because I was just going to ask, do you think they moved her up a little too quick?
Yes,
Definitely.
100%.
Most definitely.
So it's not just me.
Well, I think they did
the
that
whole Irish infatuation
Yeah.
with Becky Lynch when
Exactly.
she went down to NXT to help raise up the next crop. Something somewhere, someone said, "Oh, this is a good idea," before her development was fully flourished out. Okay,
you want to know what I think actually happened behind the scenes? I think when Stephanie Vaquer looked at them and said, "I want to be at NXT," they said, "Well, our plan was to have you on the main roster."
that part.
And then they said, "Well, we'll grab the next available NXT person that could potentially be a main roster."
Because that did happen. She originally was supposed to go to the main roster, and she chose to develop herself in NXT.
Told Bully Ray on the Busted Open After Dark pod that she wanted to be in NXT and chose to be there. And I think that really derailed a lot of what they were planning on, because I think the original idea was to have Stephanie Vaquer as the first Intercontinental Champion.
Most definitely.
Well, that sets up perfectly as the gauntlet, because now Bailey and Lyra will team up.
Yes, to be in that gauntlet to potentially
Bailey,
take on.
Which makes no sense, though, to still have a singles champion involved in a tag title match.
Good. I don't think that automatically disqualifies you, in my opinion, in a lot of these situations.
Yeah. You can't be a double champ in that aspect. To me, you can, but to me, it's like, lazy booking.
If you do, then that the Intercontinental belt comes off of her
immediately.
very quickly.
All right, we're almost to the meat, fellas. Let's get to
it.
some of these potatoes right here. We've got Penta Romero, my guy right there, versus Dominic Mysterio.
Love Dom.
My guy.
Okay, let's just put it out there. Best Dominic Mysterio match on television that I've seen in 2025. We've got to remember, this guy had more matches than anybody in 2024, and he was the most improved wrestler in 2023. So hats off right there to Dominic Mysterio.
Oh, 100%. It was easily.
Your opinion on the match, good sir?
Dude, I love seeing that he. Oh, are we getting mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. We've got our mac and cheese fest
Fantastic.
coming up.
Thank you, Jen.
Station plug.
Appreciate
Mac
it.
and Cheese Fest is coming up the
Mac and cheese for
19th.
breakfast, everybody.
Absolutely.
That's how we get down.
Go check out the Mac and Cheese Fest April 19th at the Kern County Fairgrounds. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some tickets for you guys and
Now,
share some.
where is this mac and cheese from?
That I'm not 100% sure.
We're going to have to get back to you guys after commercial
we will
on
get
this.
that in a sec. But back to what we were. Did you get an answer for us?
No,
Sparky?
they did set up, going back to the Dom match, they set up the Fatal 4-Way, which was another one that was announced for WrestleMania with Dom.
I just, because that was going to be the second part of what I was going to bring up. First is, because the first question I was going to bring up to both of you, I'm a massive Rey Mysterio fan from growing up. He was one of the favorites throughout my entire life. And watching Dominic wrestle, obviously, is a little closer to the heart because he is the son of Rey. But he continuously uses his dad's move, the 619, which a lot of people do. And I honestly, the Zelina Vegas and all of the world that you do use this move, stop. Please stop.
Please.
Please stop.
Stop
There's
using
only a
people's
hand-
finishers
I thought he
as
was
setup
Guerrero's kid.
moves.
No, well, I mean, that is
Allegedly.
there's a
I'm just
possibility.
playing.
Allegedly.
But that's the question I was going to bring to the two of you. And Dom was going to be a good example to me because Dom also didn't do it well up until last night.
Well, it was more of a lackadaisical, disrespectful approach on how he did it.
That's
But
what I
when
was
he's
gonna
serious, as we seen last night, this man can commit to one of the better 619s done by anybody in the industry. And I'm not just saying that because he genetically inherited those moves. He's actually studied them and grown up in the ring since he could, ball a fist.
He's a
walk,
20-year
or hit a
vet
front
at
flip.
30 years old.
That's insane when you think about it. It really is insane.
It is.
If for those of you old school fans, you'll remember the custody of Dom Mysterio match back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Dominic, I'm your papi.
Yes,
the late great Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, where you saw little baby Dom in all of his, childhood glory.
But I ask you because, I think he's an overall great wrestler, but he's always the dummy, the crash test dummy that everyone beats up on. Do you think this setup in WrestleMania with the 4-way with Braun?
I think Dom walks away with the belt.
I think Dom pulls it.
I'm going to keep it real. This would be the perfect time to take it off of Braun.
Yeah.
I don't see Penta taking this right now.
I could, just because of how big of a talent he is to the fan base.
Fair. But I also don't see Finn getting this.
No.
I think when JD McDonough comes back, they take a run at the tag titles.
See, I don't know about that one because they did announce they were going to give Finn a solo run this year.
Oh,
so
we've been talking about that
around what time? Or will we see a new faction? Because we've been getting hints at Bullet Club merch and Bullet Club variations for the last few weeks now with Finn Balor and his promos and interactions and segments. Now, throughout the match, we've seen a Mexican Destroyer, which is like a cradled power slam, for those that don't know the terminology of that move, where a rotation happens of about 180 degrees and the opponent is slammed on their back. We've seen one go almost 200 degrees. I'm not going to say a full 360. That would be insane, but it was definitely a degree of turning into this flip that looked phenomenal on television.
Right.
Now, whether it was practice, rehearsed, instinctual, however it went down, great athleticism by Dominic Mysterio to counter that move, which eventually led to what we're about to describe. Towards the end of the match, we have Penta go over with this Penta driver, and Braun Breaker appears.
Going after Carlito.
Now,
Gave
poor
him the spear
Carlito.
of the year.
Oh my, some call the ambulance. He needs some milk.
Yeah, because it looked like the entrance was going downhill.
He needs some milk.
It is 100% going
hard.
downhill.
And an MRI. And I'm pretty sure whatever he had for lunch ended up in his pants right then and there.
Was an apple.
I've seen spears from Goldberg to Rhino,
Edge,
to Hugh Morris, Edge.
Edges was still legendary.
You name it. Roman Reigns probably got one of the best spears in the game right now. But let me tell you something about this boy, Braun Breaker, Scott Steiner's nephew, Rick Steiner's son. I've never seen a human get cut in half in television.
Until last night.
Speeds
was worse.
No.
Speeds was worse.
No.
Be honest.
Did he fly though?
Dude, Speed got folded like a lawn chair.
No, he got clapped shut like a
literally
Nokia
had a
cell phone
concussion.
from back in the day. Well, this guy did he crap his pants?
I don't know that.
I'm pretty sure Carlito was wearing his brown pants.
I'm pretty sure. We could discuss that all day.
Yeah,
because
and for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, a
Look up the
spear is
footage.
essentially a full speed tackle.
Yes,
NFL
full
tackle,
speed.
no pads.
Now imagine when he was doing this in college.
Well, he was a fullback in college.
Well, this guy right here.
He was a fullback and a very good one at Kennesaw State.
Very
mind you.
effective with his football training into his wrestling techniques.
Had a very short stint in the NFL, but never
Possibly
really got
one of the
signed to
best
a roster.
spears I've seen, which led to an interaction between the participants in this triple threat intercontinental match that we're going to see at WrestleMania. Now, moving on very briefly.
Hold on, before we do that, do you agree with me that Dom walks away with the belt? Because in theory and in the past, the Intercontinental belt has been given to either the next big star
Or the next workhorse.
or the last workhorse. Because you remember that's why I believe Jimmy Uso will also get a push for the U.S. title because Jimmy this year is doing what Dom did last
And
year.
I just think it's a perfect setup to end
Nice.
Finn with the Judgment Day.
And as you stated, but when we started this, nobody had more matches last year than Dominic Mysterio did.
Very much so.
Who was literally doing shows on Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. That's a Monday, a Tuesday, and a Friday,
And
plus
house shows.
and the in-between house shows all the week, which means he had a match every single day of the week for almost, what, 4 months?
Yeah. Longer than that.
And it's been kind of criminal to me that the only solo chip that Dominic has held has been the NXT North American title, which is the mid-card title for the essentially feeder brand.
But wasn't it a good look?
It was a great look.
It was a great look. They
was a
all
great
had
look for
gold
him.
at the time.
But that's the point, is I think he's overdue.
About that time, yeah. Let's not put a tag title on him. Let's give him a singles chip and see how he does. Honestly, I think it's a great move, especially for how much heat he draws, which could turn into a natural aesthetic of cheers. Last night, we had cheers of "Let's Go Dominic" for the first time. I don't think I've ever heard that. That was insane.
He's putting it out there.
He put that work down.
And
we might actually be able to hear a promo without actual booze, drowning.
All right, you might be asking for too much, but it's a possibility.
I think that moved to Charlotte. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, we're gonna get into this Paul Heyman, Seth
Rollins
segment because I mean, seriously, Seth Rollins made some great points. And I'm going to allude to something that you mentioned a few weeks back. Could we possibly see a Paul Heyman turn, a double turn on CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and him align himself with Seth Rollins? Now, this is something that has been bubbling. Yes, it's been bubbling over the internet for the last 2 weeks. We've been seeing it get closer and closer, with more so his agitation of the situation with CM Punk being involved with Roman Reigns in this match. And
Seth is so good on the mic, man.
This whole history that we have between just Punk and Rollins has now entrapped Roman Reigns. This favor now seems to be the word of choice in this whole segment. Him not stomping Paul Heyman's nice little mushy head into the mat.
Lisa, you owe me
a favor. So now we're just calling favors out on people and holding their indentured servitude hostage as a manager. Hey, you know what? Whatever works for television, folks. I'm just going to say one thing. We're getting those drips of cinema that are going to make this match feel more important, because if you notice throughout everything that he said and all the accusations, he said this match is for the soul of this industry. Now, could you not have 3 different personified versions of this industry, with Seth Rollins being that guy that'll put a company on his back, Roman Reigns, who will definitely be your face and embody your champion that you would want to have on your brand, and CM Punk, who overall, not just with his leadership and experience, his cult following, pun intended. And that just really sums it up right there. Those are some of the 3 biggest names that you do not want to leave off of a WrestleMania card.
And real quick, too, before we get to a break, because I know we got to pay some bills, Sparky, but we can't end this without talking about the cinema that was the Jey Uso promo.
Oh, definitely.
On Gunther.
I'm going to get you. Jey is back. I'm going to get you, Jey.
Rikishi's son has finally put out, I personally believe, the best promo of his life. And at this point, you look at it on the face of Gunther, who is arguably the most dominant wrestler in the WWE outside of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
He looks worried.
He sold it so well.
He sold it very, very well.
Great job on Gunther. Honestly, I think this match has just upped its level of importance and significance in the card, because for a while people were sleeping or just dissatisfied with it not being a main event. So I think they gave the fans a little more than what they expected in a way that possibly wasn't being seen. It was a great angle, and the sacrifice of poor Big Jim, it definitely gave us just due in this segment.
Well, and again, Big Jim will get his title shot, I believe, for taking this absolute beating that he took last week.
Was it 15
now some quick
stitches or something like that?
Do you want to field these questions real quick? Because actually some of those do pertain to your SmackDown.
No, we'll take a quick break, and then I'll bounce off some listener questions to you guys. It's all regarding wrestling. If you have anything, you got 3 or 4 minute break right now. Text them in 661-396-1000. This is the early bird special. Burdick, Sparky, KG, right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
Speaking of overrated.
I
is way overrated.
You're talking to millennials here. No. Hold on.
This man is speaking.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Go back. First and foremost, you're listening to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. The blasphemous Sparky. The other third guy you're hearing right now is 24 kg of Hits 93.1. Our wrestling connoisseur, as it were. And you're talking to 2 millennials who grew up during the John Cena, Randy Orton era. You didn't get to see 2006 skinhead Randy.
Nah, you didn't get to see all that hate.
You didn't get to see
all that hate, that violence. He was kicking senior citizens in the face, bro.
He
Yeah.
was. He really was.
What kind of a
booting
human
people.
being is
on
down to
fighting
do
old-
that on television?
Which honestly, they're really starting to backtrack that because they looked like they were going to bring that back for a second, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
I don't think
Regardless,
Well,
you're listening to the early bird special.
I brought that up because the first question
Yes,
is, do you guys think Randy Orton gets a match and who against?
I'm digging this Nick Aldis idea.
I'm with the Nick Aldis or Drew McIntyre situation.
So,
Oh, that would
for
be a good one right there.
The people who don't know or don't follow, Randy Orton, longtime legend of the industry, was scheduled to go up against Kevin Owens.
Appropriately rated Randy Orton.
Appropriately rated.
Fighting old men, building
Um,
building a
Oh,
superstar off fighting old
what did Ric
superstars.
Flair do then?
This
That-
man,
I'll
what
say the
did
same
Ric
thing
Flair
about Ric
do?
Flair
this
too.
man
What did
did-
Hulk Hogan
You don't
do?
see me as a Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan fan.
Who hurt you this morning?
I'm just saying.
Who
I haven't
hurt
been a
you?
fan of him.
Anywho, so Kevin Owens has apparently sustained what is seeming to be a legitimate neck injury and has been wiped from the WrestleMania card.
But is it though?
I
That's
believe
why
it
I
to be
asked you.
real.
But is
Uh,
it though?
He's such a good
He's so
salesman.
good at selling it, but we will see. I think
Very
if,
deceptive.
if we obviously see a Kevin Owens appearance this week, it could be the biggest switcheroo to 3-card money move that we've seen since Mark Henry.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But Mark Henry, faking his retirement to get his title shot again. However, it seems to me that they're building up for a match between Randy and the GM of SmackDown, Nick Aldis, who is a longtime TNA champion and has been with the company for over 2 years. Because if you remember when Randy came back, there was a situation where Randy RKO'd Aldis, and then Aldis, charged him $50K or fined him $50,000.
Yeah.
And he gave him $100,000
What is this for?
for next time, is what he says.
We've seen that next time just occur.
And honestly, with Nick Aldis still being in ring shape, husband of Mickie James, for those of you who are longtime WWE fans as well, we could potentially see, just as a scrap match, Nick Aldis against Randy Orton, because I genuinely believe you're getting Damian Priest against Drew McIntyre. They've already had promos building up to it. Drew
I forgot
McIntyre
about that
selling this
That's a good
glass
one
in the
too.
eye situation. So I think you're going to get Randy versus
Do you
Nick
think he
Aldis.
gets one, or you think they just scrap the whole Orton at WrestleMania?
No, I think Orton's too big of a name, and you've already built this too much for him to be just.
I think
pulled
Nick
from the
comes
card.
out next Friday and demands an apology, and Randy gives him his answer in
Gives
the
him the
form of
second one.
another RKO
or a boot,
or the boot, which sets up an impromptu but still a very satisfying WrestleMania
which
match
could be a
for the
solid
legend
Ugh.
Randy Orton.
legend killer.
Gross.
This man-
legend
I
killer.
can't- who-
How do you get
Sparky,
you be a
hold on.
legend killer fighting guys over
Legend
age,
killer.
retirement age?
What about all those matches he had with John Cena?
What
I
about
didn't
all
watch
those matches
Cena.
he had with Batista?
He said, "No, you mean those jorts he was wrestling in the ring?
Yeah, I
Nobody
didn't
could
watch
see
that.
Cena."
all
I
those
didn't watch
matches he
that.
had with the soon-to-be Hall of Famer Triple H.
I'm
Well,
just
the other
saying.
one was saying,
I'm just saying.
do you see Cross fighting Orton?
Ooh.
No, only because
wouldn't
they've
wanna
been
see him
building.
fed to
Probably
Orton
not
right
that
now.
quick.
No,
With 2 weeks away,
You got to
It
let
seems
that one build
rushed.
for about a good 6 months.
'Cause that
Plus,
would be a
if-
good one
And
too.
have about a 3-match feud with that one.
if Karrion Kross is doing the whole hair the same as the wrestler I'm wrestling right now, he's gonna have to shave his head within the next 2
I don't
days.
think he has a problem with that.
No,
that's
dog.
That's the
He,
thing.
he probably doesn't, but those locks look really good right now. And plus, they've again, just like I say,
He's
with
been
the-
growing out his hair for a while, bro.
just like I say about the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest situation, they've been building this entire don't say 3-way AJ Styles Karrion Kross match at least, which is why I believe Karrion sneaks in to that AJ and Logan Paul match somehow.
Ooh.
The other question, we have got 2 more. The other one was Yeet or Gunther,
Yeet,
Yeet.
all day.
and
Play my soundtrack.
I was
play my
thinking Gunther.
4
I was
letters,
thinking
one
Gunther
word.
until-
Yeet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing.
I'm all for Yeet, have been since this entire match got started.
Thank you.
You can go to our clips and see I predicted Yeet to win the Royal Rumble. And from that day forward, Kimble can attest this, and so can Sparky. I have said it is time for Jey Uso to finally hoist a main title.
I just want to give you your props on saying that was probably the biggest call of the year. Nobody.
I
And when
called both of them.
And when I say nobody in the wrestling community, online or in person, fathomed that Jey Uso would walk
You
out
can
of
look
the
at our
Royal
clip.
Rumble the winner. I
Well-
clearly said, if you go back to the episode, CM Punk, John Cena, Yeah, malarkey. All right, mulligan, straight up,
You're
right
close.
there. All right, Jey Uso walk. I was literally like, I think I texted you right away and was like, oh my God, you were right, bro. What you got, Miss Cleo over there that you kicking it with? Telling you the future, boy.
Call me the wrestling Nostradamus. I'm telling you right now. You can look at any of our wrestling videos, and I've been right about 90% of the time. I'm just saying, not to pat myself on the back. It's wrestling, so it's not exactly hard to predict.
Give you the old Barry Horowitz, the pat on the back.
Now I can't sit here and predict March Madness to save my life, but hey, at least I can help you with your wrestling cards if you ever start betting on this.
And the final question was, where is Alexa Bliss?
Alexa is currently brewing. I'm going to tell you right now, there is talks that we are going to get an Alexa Bliss inside the Wyatt 6 situation.
And where have they been?
They are also brewing. Bo Dallas has been dealing with an injury. They are on the SmackDown roster. And if you remember, I believe it was 2-3 weeks ago, there was a mention and a slight little QR code again from the group, so they will most likely be coming back. Now, I would assume.
What's Bo Dallas's injury situation? Has he been cleared yet?
He is supposedly on the way back to being cleared. I'm not 100% sure if he's cleared yet.
Well, that's going to be a great and refreshing boost for WrestleMania season, because we haven't seen any Wyatt 6 activity in about several months now.
I know they're supposed to be a part of the Universal Studios Halloween deal.
Actually, because for those of you who don't know, the Wyatt 6 is a horror-based faction in the WWE, which was announced and debuted just under a year ago on Raw. A fantastic faction built from the mind of the great late Bray Wyatt, who is just incredible at all of this and was incredible when he was on this earth. Unfortunately, taken from us too early due to COVID and some heart issues that he was dealing with throughout his life. But it is now led by his brother under the name Bo Dallas, who it is just really mimicking what his brother has done and is incredible at what he does.
Hey, Sparky, what you looking at? You're seeing if Bray Wyatt was overrated?
No, I know who Bray Wyatt is.
Okay, I was checking
our.
I'm still hurt from that Randy Orton.
I will not. Randy Orton, you can have any comments you want. There is no slandering of the great late Bray Wyatt.
You can't do that, man.
I love that guy.
You can't do that.
The Fiend.
And I went back and did my homework and watched a lot of the Wyatt matches.
Oh, it's incredible.
How'd you feel about him?
I love the guy.
Honestly, I really, really wish we could have gotten that little rub between the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt.
Yes,
it would have been.
That was my first shirt I bought, was a Wyatt 6 shirt.
Yes, it was.
When I came back.
Yes,
so
it was.
I feel like we really got robbed of a WrestleMania situation with, even though the Muscle Man dance wasn't the greatest promo. Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt would have cooked.
Yeah, it would have been a great
because
match.
it was in sequence to a more important storyline that we never got to see paid off. And yeah, man, Muscle Man dance.
Bobby Lashley, again, for those of you who are fans of the long-term
long-term booking, man.
Short situation in the UFC.
Yeah.
So fantastic individual as well. No longer with the company, unfortunately. But
unfortunately,
at this point, Sparky, we got any other text questions for
Mr.
Kimble before
the
we let
other
him
one
go?
was the trivia, which I believe all three were wrong.
Oh no!
One was
DuckTales.
DuckTales.
No.
And I love that because that just that DuckTales theme song stuck in my head.
In fact,
I almost came back with that.
Let's come back with that because the DuckTales theme song is legendary. But no, DuckTales.
The other two were Superman.
No, Superman
They're
is not,
close.
but you're getting closer. You're absolutely getting closer. If you guys don't get the answer by the end of the show, we'll let you know. Or we can just carry it over next week, and maybe we'll have a pair of Mac and Cheese Fest tickets to give away.
That's what I was hoping. That DuckTales one was good, though.
That is fantastic. It's Darkwing Duck is actually
Mac and cheese is good anytime, but when you have a festival of mac and cheese, I'm just saying.
Are you DJing at this festival, my friend?
I would believe I will be there in some form of capacity for the company.
WrestleMania weekend.
We're just gonna have to figure it out.
It is WrestleMania weekend. It's WrestleMania Saturday.
I do have some bookings to attend to, so we're gonna make time for a little bit of everything.
Absolutely.
There. You guys just need to show up and show out and be ready for some mac and cheese festivities.
Exactly. Find the early bird special. Find 24KG on Instagram. And we appreciate your time. We'll have to get you back. We'll have to do a longer video with KG before WrestleMania, because we're gonna have to put our predictions out. Everyone's talking about the Flair and Tiffy thing that we didn't get to get into too much. So
we're gonna have to save that because that needs a little further dissecting.
Yes, we'll definitely have to go along with that one.
And we got
that was a very controversial segment that we could talk about at a later date.
We unfortunately got to get into Charlotte's divorce situation, I should say.
I don't want to
years.
watch Real Housewives of WWE.
No, that's what we're getting.
That's pretty much
tough.
what
That's
we're
what we're
setting
getting.
up right
So-
there.
And I was
you
seeing
know.
the same thing with the with Naomi.
Mhm.
That one was rough, but we'll get
all
into
this drama in the world.
Find the Early Bird Special, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, right here, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101 FM.